Kia ora, talofa hai, and welcome to another episode of Tanarumanga's Team Talk, proudly sponsored by Victual, New Zealand's first health and wellbeing supplement that combines ancient and Māori Pacifica wisdom and ingredients. My guests tonight I'm very fortunate to have. In 2010, my guest represented Tonga at the IRB Junior World Cup in Argentina, and then the following year represented New Zealand. And then he first played for the All Blacks Sevens in 2011, then made his debut for the full All Blacks in 2013 against France. In 2015, he announced that he would be joining Irish club Ulster from the start of the 2016 and 17 season, and then slipped in by signing with Wasps for the 2015 and 16 season, which I thought was very smart. And got to play with his brother, which I'm sure they hadn't done since back in the backyard days in Māngere. And then was named 2015-2016 Premiership Player of the Season, and then was crowned Pro 12 Players Player of the Season after his debut season with Ulster. And he's moved to the Bristol Bears in the Premiership and has been selected in back-to-back Premiership teams of the season for the 2019 and 2021 campaigns. And here's another one who is involved with the metaverse world, being the founder of RUGGERNFT'S, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. Charles Piutau, so good to have you on us and appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for the intros. But no, it's a pleasure to be on here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's good. It's good. And we were talking before, it's starting to warm up, which is if you can call getting to 10 or 11 degrees warming up. But I suppose it's all relative to where we are.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, in the UK, you appreciate 10, 12 degrees, especially, you know, when it gets a lot colder than that. So we're slowly on the rise. Once we hit 15 to 20, we'll be celebrating happy days. So.
Nice. I'm sure that's that's something that you're probably missing from being away from home. But it's been a while since you've been away from home, you know, and 7 or 8 years now. And I suppose we'll go right back to where it all started, you know, those early days and your memories of running around, you know, like I said, in Māngere with your family, but also with in those as a Wesleyan.
Man, like throwback, like thinking of those times, like I wouldn't have thought, you know, where I'm sitting at today, you know, on the other side of the world, that would happen. But man, just, you know, those simple days of playing in the backyard for my siblings, my brothers, and, you know, pretending to be, you know, Jonah Lomu or saying all these different superstars' names that were playing Super Rugby and the All Blacks at the time. And then, you know, even going Wesley College. And I think always seeing Jonah's name up on the dining room, his jerseys. Like, he was always, you know, the legend, the Tongan guy from Māngere that, you know, made it possible or made us believe that we could do it as well, because, you know, he was doing it and it come from where we were, and being of Tongan ethnicity as well. So it was early days.
Yeah, well, you're doing that now. Like you say, you need those role models, positive role models that, you know, can show that, the path is there. Someone's done it before me, and now you're forging that path too, in terms of, you know, the road that you've taken.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's always like the hope, that, you know, you're able to inspire, you know, the next young kid, the next generation in any sort of way. And if it's just one person, then man, you feel like, you know, you've accomplished something. And you know, today I do feel like not only sports athletes, is a lot of now different musicians and whatnot, different other people that's come through South Auckland in general and given hope and inspired young people. So
No, you're doing a great job there, Tools. I suppose we've you know, you talk about your path through to to the All Blacks, and I wanted to mention that you did have, you did play for Tonga at a young age. So hey, look, it was always there. It could be coming back full circle. So becoming an All Black, how was it? Was that always the dream when you were growing up?
Yeah, for sure. I think like growing up in New Zealand, going to school, like the All Blacks, the black jersey, the haka, that's all you knew, right? Like all the friends and everyone else. And so that was always like, something that a dream that I wanted to achieve. But at the same time, like Tonga, my parents had migrated from Tonga to New Zealand to give us kids a bit of opportunity, and spoke to us at home in Tongan. And so the Tongan culture was very close to our family as well. And I guess when the opportunity for the Tonga under-20s came along, I guess I knew, with the eligibility rules at the time that, this could be, a special time and probably the only time I'll be able to play for Tonga and represent. So, done that, and was awesome to experience the culture. The majority of the guys in the team were from Tonga, and, be able to play that tournament and that experience. And then the following year, backed that up with New Zealand. It was two different like environments. I think with Tonga, we had like our team manager that was supposed to come had run away with the money, so we were staying in a marae in New Zealand, and all the families were chipping in to feed the team. And then you go to the New Zealand under-20s, we like had 4 or 5 different camps, hotels, kit all sorted for us. But no, like that was the beauty, like just being able to experience that and then push on to high honors.
You definitely know the struggles and the other side of it are when you're playing for the islands. How much, it is sad sometimes. Again, when people take advantage of positions,
Sure.
But hey, look, as you said, you learn from it. You learn from it and see, that other side, they got it all together. I think I might just go with them for a little bit now.
No, definitely. I think it goes to show, it was a good experience. So like I think you made me appreciate, what certain systems or environments New Zealand had to bring, I guess, to develop your talent and get better as a rugby player, but also feel for Tonga as well, and just knowing that the talent is there, but maybe just some of the structures and stuff, if that was there as well, how much more better the players would be, and that flowing into the national team. So.
And I think you also get that feeling of community. Like you said, something might happen, but oh well, that's done. Let's just help each other out. And that's the whole concept of the culture. It just goes around, comes around. Oh yeah, well, yeah, that's happened. We'll just everyone get together, pitch in, and they just come from everywhere. As we know with the Tongans, they love supporting the Tongan teams, and it's just amazing. And I know everyone's trying to recreate, because they lead in the way they support it, and everyone's trying to recreate that around the world. I'm sure, that time, like you say, here in New Zealand when we had the World Cup here, and the Tongans, led the way, and then the same thing with the Rugby League World Cup.
For sure.
So again, like you're saying, that after adversity, the ability for our people to come together and support it and do the best, that's so giving.
Exactly. Like I think just in general, like the Pacific, the Polynesian people, like they're just passionate. Like they understand. Like probably don't have the best environment or whatnot, the most resources, but they're just proud people that love to see the team representing, playing their hearts out, giving it their all, and they're gonna celebrate and dance and cheer, win, lose or draw. So no, it is a beautiful thing to see, and I think that's like to see a country come together and celebrate like that and back a team. It's a cool thing as well.
I suppose we can, move on to like your decision to leave New Zealand. I know that, there was a lot of talk about that. And I remember, when I first became Blues coach, that we had a chat in Mangere Bridge. Sorry, I've been told before.
That's right.
I've been told before that Mangere Bridge is a Mangere, mate. That's
yeah. They always try and differentiate about being from Mangere. We were like, nah, that's part of Mangere. That's just our nice side that we like to show off to the people first see before they come into the rest of Mangere.
oh no, I was because some of the boys they're giving all hard because so now man, I've been to Mangere Bridge, man. That's not what you're talking about. And I said, Sully, nah, that's not Mangere, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember that. Like, but it was a tough time. Like, man, probably still the biggest, like, toughest decision I've made in rugby, and like. I think to start off with, I wasn't even thinking of coming abroad. Like at that time, I was like, oh, I'd love to stay in New Zealand, and I'd love to. The pinnacle for me was play a World Cup. So I could do that. Felt like I achieved. I guess that would be my ultimate. And so, the decision, like I was in like negotiations with the NZAE at the time. And probably took about 3 months until we probably got to the end. Both parties were happy, but man, it was almost like the last night, like as I go to see my agent, like he's like, oh, we've gotten this offer from Ulster Rugby, a club I've never heard before. I knew nothing about the city, Northern Ireland, what had happened there. But he's obligated to let me know that something's been put on the table, and I think that was the first time I was like, oh, okay, then I actually got to think about this. Give me 2 weeks to go away and think, if I'm gonna go or if I'm gonna stay. And during those 2 weeks, it was like the longest 2 weeks of my life. I felt like one day I'm like, nah, I'm staying, and the next day, oh, I'm going. Like, but then I think throughout that process, it came down to, what was the closest thing to me, and what was my dream that I wanted to achieve. And closest thing to me was my family. And my dream in rugby, like I said earlier, was probably to play a World Cup. That was my pinnacle that I saw. And I backed myself. I knew there'd probably be some backlash, being quite young at the time. But I still backed myself that if I could play some good rugby, that I'll be selected. And the rest, unfortunately, I wasn't, and I ended up coming overseas. But yeah, that was kind of that process and decision that led to me eventually leaving New Zealand.
And I think, what are some of the biggest learnings from that time now that you can think about? Because again, like as a role model, I think it has made people think about the big picture. That like, like you say, All Blacks pinnacle, and I'm sure they would have given you the look if you stay for another, couple of years, and your value and brand will grow.
Oh, for sure.
So you get a bit of pressure to stay, but then all of a sudden you realize, and I think as we've seen, and we'll talk about, it hasn't harmed your brand not being, at all.
That definitely was all of that. Like, I think the one thing, like, was spoken about, like, do you want to be a great All Black? Do you want to play 50 caps? You want to play 100 caps? And I think, in all honesty, like, when I grew up and had the dream, it was just to be an All Black. Like, I didn't think like how many games. Like, that was never until I got into the environment, and then that kind of chat was like, you want to be a great All Black. You want to be, and that's true. Like, you want to be a starter and you're playing a lot of games. But I think when I came to make the decision, it was like, well, what actually is my dream, or what actually do I want? And the Rugby World Cup was, for me, that was the pinnacle. But as I look back at that decision and what it's done for me, like, I definitely left New Zealand with like a chip on my shoulder. Like, I wanted to prove myself. Like, missing out on that team definitely probably set me up and to show that I could still come abroad, still improve as a rugby player. because I guess that was some of the chat, like, you know, you're gonna go over there, the rugby styles, you know, all they do is kick, you know, you're not gonna develop and whatnot. So I guess I came in especially those first few years, it was like, man, I really want to prove that I can be a good player, that I am good enough, and yeah, I think like you said, like it was a change of mindset in terms of, I think one of the biggest things I learned was I have to make a decision for myself. Like when you're in team environments, you almost feel obligated that, like, you know, you want to do it for your teammates and do it for the club, and that's important. But then at the same time, you know, it's important that you put yourself first. Because at the end of the day, like when you're not playing well, the next guy's in and you're done with, like, you know, so it is brutal at times, and that's our game. But yeah, I think, you know, just coming abroad and wanting to continue to improve and show that, you know, I can be a better rugby player still, coming overseas was always, has helped me through that decision.
I think that's the beautiful thing too, in terms of that mindset. Like you said, you know, you had a bit of disappointment, and still going and achieving what you've achieved shows that it doesn't matter what environment. And I'm 100%. You could play 50 tests, you could play, you know, again, it's been used a lot. It's been used for a long time, but in the end, you're one of the few that probably, actually, you know, is that best for me? And you know, it is tougher, you know, because there's a lot of history and also, how would you say, there's also others that have done that, gone that path, but that path's not for everyone. And I think,
like you said, like, that's, I like, to me, that was right. Like to other guys, I commend them, like that's gone on to play those tests, that's what they wanted. And I think that's probably the takeaway that I've taken from the decision, is like, what do you want? Because that's what matters. If it's that, then go for it. Like I applaud you. And if it's not, and whatever it is, then take that and go forward with that as well. And I think at the time it probably just wasn't the norm, or wasn't, you know, the way that a lot of players had done it before. But you know, I've spoken to other players that have since then, you know, come across that same process or decision, and all I've said, like, the biggest thing for me is, like, you know, what do you want? If it's to continue that, then back yourself and continue to go. And if it's not, whatever else it is, then back yourself and that too.
Yeah, and it's to understand too, as you've done, that mindset again. You know, I've made the decision. I still need to, you know, achieve the best I can be. You know, like you say, with that chip on the shoulder, because you do have some players that made the decision to stay, but still didn't reach the goal that, you know, that that they were sold, you know, the story that they were sold, you know, you could be this, but it doesn't happen. And again, the mindset or the confidence starts, and then you look back, I should have gone when you know, and that's just what,
for sure,
you got to, hey, didn't work out. What's next? You know, like, you know, I decided, you know, be happy with that decision. You know, I
that's
think,
I think I've never, once I made the decision, people would ask me, like, have you regretted? Like, even when I first come over, like, I remember going to the final of that World Cup 2015, because I was based with Wasps, so I was in London, and my parents were with me, and I didn't want to go to the game, but they wanted to go, so I was like, but watching them win, like, man, honestly, like, mixed emotion. I was happy for them, but, you know, I would have loved to be out there with the team. But like I said, like, I don't regret it. Like, man, I've made the decision, and you know, there's no more looking back, what if, and what that, like, whether, like you said, like, you achieve that goal or not, you have to, you know, be committed to it, and always look forward.
And you know, again, you know, what you've achieved has really shown that too. You know, and look, the World Cup dreams not out of the picture now, you know.
Man, I don't know, like, I never would have thought, like, you know, I've always seen the eligibility rules in the past, and the votes at World Rugby, and there's always been a lot of chat when, you know, the chairman's been up for grabs, or, you know, they're voting again that they're gonna, you know, bring this up for discussion. But you know, a lot of people, you know, have kind of helped push the eligibility rules, and now to see it passed, like it's an exciting opportunity that I'm pretty stoked that now I'm still playing, that you know, I have the opportunity to possibly, you know, still reach that goal, hopefully, but let alone be a part, have the opportunity to play for Tonga. So,
and geez, the side that they could possibly put together is it's exciting. It's a little bit relieving as being a Samoan and being involved with the Samoan rugby team. And now that we've passed that, we don't have to play to qualify for the World Cup, because you know, it just brings into so many great players that haven't played for, you know, for like yourself. But you know, as you know, like for our game, it's huge. You know, and I think you know, having the best players on show is just something that our game needs, as every game is part of the entertainment package, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I think, in all honesty, like, you watch international level and no one likes it being too one-sided. Like, I think, like, watching it broke me, like watching All Blacks beat Tonga by 100 points. Like, you know, for me, I was like, man, I'd love for it to be competitive, a lot more competitive. And I think, you know, even this alone, hopefully that's the start of it, of that closing that gap between tier 1, tier 2 nations. So yeah, I see it as a positive for the game of rugby, and hopefully guys that are going back to, especially the Pacific nations, that have given a lot to the game. That the players of certain experience that they've had at other countries, being able to give that experience back to Tonga, and you're seeing of what's happened with rugby league alone in terms of the Tongan team. You know, I see so many stories of young kids now wanting to grow up and put on their red jersey and represent Tonga, and that, to me, I think if you can create that, man, that's a win.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking too, like, as you said, with, you know, what the Tonga did in terms of galvanizing the Tongan community here, and you saw it, the way they floated in behind them here. And then, you know, there's a lot of talk around, you know, the not playing the South African sides as much because you don't get the physicality. Well, you get a good, a good Tongan side, a good Samoan side, then you're creating that. You know, that could be the answer to the All Blacks, or, you know, the Australians, in terms of getting good hard games, because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, true. It's definitely a great option moving ahead, and hopefully that will come into fruition. So
it's been 7 years since you played, you know, 7 or 8 years since you played Test rugby, you know, and as we know, like, it's a long season. I suppose you'd be used to getting a bit of going away on holiday in those times when the Test.
Yeah,
are you looking forward to that?
Man, in all honesty, I think it is like, I'm nervous, like, you know, just thinking of that international stage. You think as time goes, you get a bit older, and you think, you know, that is the stage you really want to test yourself, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're ready for that test and you're at your best, to give the jersey that you're wearing, and you know, you're making yourself proud as well as your family. But yeah, I have been, as you know, the seasons of these ways are grind, and they're long. So when the opportunity does come to have a week off, or, you know, the full 4 weeks off as at the end of the season, you know, you take that with two hands and make sure you're getting rest and time off. So I guess that does change. You know, if you're looking to get back into international duties and stuff like that. But like you said, it's been a long time that I think I'm excited for that challenge again, and yeah, just to test yourself, really.
And have you, has Tutai been in touch? I'm sure he has. He would have been happy.
Yes. Yeah. No, he's been in touch. I know we've been in touch before, even before like eligibility rules that passed. Like we've tried sevens tournaments. There's a loophole through that program, but didn't eventually happen. But now, yeah, we try and speak quite often, and he always asks about my weight every week. So I think it's just apparently it's medical information. So or just checking up on me.
Oh, shucks, tell him to watch the game, so I don't think there's any issue with the weight. And what about have you started up a Tongan players WhatsApp group, chat group yet? Because I'm sure you're supposed to, are you going? Are you going? Come on.
Yeah,
you're trying to recruit.
I think there's definitely been a lot of chat on Instagram.
Yeah.
Boys, like, I've been chatting, like just reaching out to different players and just seeing what their views are and if they're interested or not. And yeah, there has been a lot of chat between guys of, you know, are you making yourself available? So it's nice to know that, you know, there's not only you and there's other guys as well in the same boat, and just adds to the excitement.
And how about your brother? I don't know, is he still running around? Could he still go again?
Honestly, I haven't asked him the question, but I don't know. Yeah, he's playing in Japan now. He seems like he's still going. That guy always chucking on. Yeah, I'm sure he's almost 40, but he's still pushing on and still playing, like still going well. So, you know, he always jokes around saying he'll come as you know, I don't know, water boy chaplain or something along those lines. But nah.
Well, as you know, and I know, he's such a good man for a team. I'm sure in any capacity, and he's obviously got a lot of respect in the Tongan jersey for what he's achieved. You know, being a former captain. But you're right, he is probably one that looks after himself very well. You know, and he could probably keep going. But I'm sure that that's a story that you'll have to convince Blossom and to get across the line.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of I know this is probably something that you don't think about, but you know, we talked about before you left and you know, the talk that everyone gives you, but you've earned so much respect in terms of what you've achieved, and you know, doing a bit of research, you know, you're equal first in terms of top earners in Europe.
Fake news, I think. I
don't know. Again, I think I just wanted to talk because that is something that it's quite a major achievement, and whether it's true or not, but being around those circles is huge for someone. You know, when you look at the players that you're with, you know, they've won World Cups, they've played heaps of internationals, and again,
for sure,
you've bypassed all that to actually show your value through your achievements just by playing, you know, in the club scene, you know. For sure. It must make you, must justify your decision,
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see, that is like just to show that maybe the pathway that I've taken, although it's probably not the norm, but to be in the position I am, like that it gives inspiration or hope, you know, to other young players coming through. And in all honesty, like, I think that was probably the first thing I thought to myself, like, man, I haven't played a World Cup. I haven't only played a small amount of tests. But I think, like you said, I think that in itself, I was just part of backing myself in terms of that decision and not looking back, using that disappointment and channeling that into you know, into the game, into the way I played. And just it is humbling to be of Tongan descent, and to be earning good money, making a living out of rugby. So
and I suppose, you know, like, how's that helped you, you know, your time away, in terms of, you know, looking at your life outside of rugby and the support you've had, you know, and you know, what's been kind of your pathway around that?
Yeah, I think part of the decision I did mention earlier as well was, like, I'm the youngest of 10, so I'd always like lived at home. I never have moved out of home. Was always so spoiled and picked on from my siblings as well.
Yeah.
But like I'd never like, you know, done my own washing or like cook food, and you know, even though I bought it at school, a store made for you as well. Like you drop off your washing and, you know, go to the dining room and stuff. So I think finding my feet as well as a person outside of rugby was a big part of that decision as well. And, you know, I decided to do it by going to the other side of the world. But, you know, rugby like helped that transition. But I think, yeah, like off the field as well, I think, you know, I've always thought like the career, having this opportunity and blessing to play rugby and, you know, earn good money, you know, you want to try and make moves and investments and stuff like that to help set yourself up, because we know it's not there forever, and there's going to be a time where we have to hang up the boots. So I do always think, you know, in my head, like when I finish, what do I want to see come through my rugby career? What have I done with, you know, what I've earned, what I've learned as well. So yeah.
That's a major one too. I think, as you said, I'm the youngest as well. Yeah, some would say spoiled. I think that's what my sister, and yes, I did get hidings from my kids because my siblings, because I was spoiled. But that's a big thing, eh? Like you say, you're living at home, you know, and some of our boys are doing it to this day. You know, they still live at home. Everything's done for them, and understanding, like bit of self-awareness around, actually, hey, can I help mum, or can I help with my I bring all this washing every day with from training, and then all of a sudden it's just I put it here, and next day it's on my bed folded up, and
yeah, no, definitely, man. I like those simple things in life that, man, like honestly, to a lot of people it's probably like just so normal and just but like to me, like, man, that was like, oh man, I don't even know how to turn the oven on, or like, you know, what to do, all these things, scared you're gonna burn the house down. But
how was it when you first got there?
I've learned a lot. Oh, so I got here, and then my parents were here because the World Cup were
of course, yeah,
on. So they were following Tonga, my brother, and so they kind of kickstart me there. But to be honest, I think I still lived off Deliveroo and Uber Eats for a lot of times, and got, you know, pre-cooked meals and just warmed it up in the microwave. But I think I like to say over time, slowly, you know, still not to the extent, but you know, at least I know how to turn it on and turn it off now, and put the washing in and get it out. So, it was a pretty crack up time, and lucky I have my wife now that helps out too. So I'm back to square one.
I'm sure you're a little bit more helpful than back in the day.
I like to think so, but I probably say otherwise.
So in terms of, you know, like you said, the, you know, life after rugby, when for you did you start actually putting things in place, you know, to do, you know, to have something after rugby? Because I know you've got some investments, and like you said, we'll get into the metaverse, because I don't know how many times people have explained it to me, but
I still haven't got it too. But I think like from the start of like kind of getting into rugby, my agent had always kind of spoken to me about, like, you know, what financially, like, you know, what do you want to achieve, and how that look like. And I'd always had an interest in like and building and like houses. Like, you know, I wanted to be a builder before playing rugby, and had like was going to do my apprenticeship before it all kicked off. But then obviously rugby kind of accelerated, and then I didn't have the opportunity to do that apprenticeship. So I think from day one, the thought and the idea of it was always there. And then as you go, you know, sometimes you get carried away, you don't save and put that money into investments, or you get excited and enjoy the moment. But that's how probably I knew early on about, you know, being able to make some smart decisions around that area. And I think over time, I think I've understood that more, and now getting older, it's almost like, there's no mucking around now. But property has always been something I've enjoyed, and I would probably most likely like to do after footy, whether that's being a builder or investor and a project manager, and dealing with, you know, stuff or something around those that aspect.
Would that be in the UK or back in back home?
I think at the moment New Zealand's laws and stuff are pretty tough to get going, and you know, the government have made it a bit harder. But I'm open to both. The market here is quite good in terms of property, and there's a lot of opportunity as well. So, but it's always a tough thing. Like, you know, there's a lot of family at home, so it depends if you know, if we want to be closer to home or want to continue, you know, working out these ways.
And that's, you know, it's so great to hear you talk about, you know, you had these thoughts, and your relationship with your agent, you know, was that he kind of set you on that path. Who else influenced you in terms of, you know, I know the work ethic was already there, you know, in terms of your footy. Who else was an influence in terms of, you know, that kind of, mate, remember, can't do this for your whole life? Yeah.
Like, I think throughout your career, like, there's always like PDMs who are constantly always there, like telling you that. So, you know, as you come through, there's always that. But I think for me, I like, you know, you have those, you see other players, like, whether they're doing stuff as well, that's always inspiring, and it's another reminder of, for me, I think that's how I've always seen it. Like, there was that start from with my agent, and then, you know, there's always been just reminders along the way, whether that's through teammates doing things, or the professional development managers, you know, getting on you, asking you to those questions of, you know, what are you going to do? What are you doing now? How are you going to set up stuff to transition? So, yeah, I think that would be
how did you learn about it? You know, did you do courses, or I've talked to a few boys that YouTube, even myself, how I learned to do that. Oh yeah, YouTube. I'm gonna go to YouTube and learn.
I think in terms of like the ruggers and metaverse stuff is definitely YouTube. Like, you know, you're trying to search up and get stuff out. But I think in terms of the property, like, will be like was a course, like joining in like property investment group, where you know, you could kind of have a mentor. You have like groups that kind of catch up and discuss about you know, what they're doing, and learning from each other that way. And then even coming over to the UK, like, kind of picked up another property course, and just learning you know, more in depth different things, and how to go about it. So I think the courses have been a big help for me.
That's and it's not usually our way usually of trying to ask for, you know, for help in terms of trying to learn something that, oh no, that's you know, I don't want to but guys, I'll go to this course, you know. But those things where, you know, again, talking to a lot of around understanding your network, you know, and all these opportunities open to you, you know, like, I know I've talked, I don't know how many times on here around not being the guy who we just go sit in the corner and just don't want to talk to anyone. But those opportunities to talk to people, actually, you know, sponsors, or, you know, have you developed that? You must have, being over there now.
It definitely has developed over time. Like, I think probably like a lot of other boys, like, to start off with, was like, oh man, just gonna stay in the corner, or just gonna be quiet and try and hang out with the boys. And you know, I think a lot of it was just like, whether it was confidence or being too shy. But I think over time was just, I think you understand that, you know, these owners or sponsors of different businesses that are sponsoring the team, they're actually there. They want to talk to you. Like, there's something that you can give to them, whether it's just a chat or getting to know them, and knowing that it's a two-way thing. And I think that's probably something for me that has helped me realize, like, you know, it's okay. You can go over and talk to these guys, and whether you know nothing about their business or not, like, you know, it's an opportunity to do that. And like you said, like, I think there's so much power in being able to network, and you know, the platforms that we have, the opportunities that you know, being a rugby player, the doors that it opens just from, you know, what we do. And I think, you know, maximizing that before we finish playing, and it's who are you again? You've forgotten. You know, while we're still playing and, like, you know, still hot properly, you like to think that, you know, you maximize that opportunity. But I understand, like, a lot of guys, you know, sometimes just, whether they're just too shy or stuff. I think I still have the same moments, like battle, like, oh no, I don't want to go talk, or I'm shy or this. But I think always thinking of, you know, the bigger picture, the opportunity. You never know what could come out of it. That eventually kind of pushes me to go and say hello or talk.
But I think it's also, I think a bit like yourself, I was a bit like yourself, hey, don't want any regrets. You don't want to leave that room and say, oh, shucks, I should have talked to that guy. And because you've shown it throughout your career, so, well, you know, again, that's something that, but it doesn't come to the forefront at that time. It's
sure.
more, man, I don't want to be, I don't want to bother the guy. He must be having all the, you know, all the time. But like you said, you, they just want to help. They're actually waiting for you to have a chat, and that's all they're looking for. And then if something happens. If it doesn't, then you've lost. You haven't lost anything, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. So like sometimes you see, like you said, it's all the questions is in your own head. Like you're saying, oh, no, he probably does on this and that. You can't read his mind. It's like until you go chat to him, and then you have a fair understanding of it.
Well, he's there for a reason too, you know. Like if he didn't want to chat, then he wouldn't have sponsored the team, or he wouldn't be at that. You know, like you say. So, no, and don't worry, you're right too. Around you got to strike while the iron's hot, because when you go back after you finish with the, oh, sorry, who are you again? No one. No, that's right.
They'll be asking you, oh, can you give me a drink? They think you're a waiter or something.
But I think that's a powerful message that you've, especially the way you've just talked about it, you know, for, you know, do it while you're there, because like you say, you know, you're at your most powerful, or, you know, everyone, like you say, strike right while you're running hot. Is best, because, you know, like you say, your values at its highest and to maximize that value, because just like everything, you've made yourself into a barrel of product that's, you know, worth this at this time, whether we like it or not. And that's not how we like to look at it as rugby players are, and you know, as Pacific Islanders as well. We just, I just do what I do, and that's just it, you know.
Exactly. And I think, like, you know, you use that as to open the door, but, you know, that then allows you to build on that relationship, and for them to get to know you, the person, you know, because like all they see is you on the field. So then through that, whether you're going and checking out their business, or, you know, going to learn from, you know, at their work office or whatnot, like, then you're able to carry on their relationship through, you know, that time and building that connection.
100%.
And showing more of yourself. So
and like you say, just connections and relationships. It's in the end, that's what we're used to, having that face to face, rather than through a, you know, an email or you know, and learning on the job, you know, rather than learning in a classroom. I know for me, and I know for the other brothers, it's, you know, learn by doing, you know, rather than being told.
Exactly. Hence, I think I enjoyed carpentry and building.
So let's get into your metaverse NFT. So you're a founder of Ruggers NFT, is that right? You know, what brought that on? And you must have been watching a few YouTubes.
Man, it was just a friend that I know here, a good friend here in the UK, who just asked to catch up over coffee one day, and I walk in, and he wanted to, like, pitch an idea to me, and you know, it started off as, like, you know, a picture of a rhino on a table, and I generally thought I could draw it. And he's like, you know, what would you pay for this? And I was like, oh, £1, or, you know, and he was laughing. And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I did. And then he goes into pitching, you know, his idea and stuff, and, you know, it was ruggers and stuff like that. And And then at the end, he was like, so he had bought that NFT at the time for, I don't know, 2000 or something. And, he's ended up selling it for 30, 40 or whatever. So I was like laughing, but that caught my attention in terms of, it's serious stuff. Like I wasn't like, mucking around. But in terms of like the whole concept around like the NFTs, I kind of knew a little bit because I followed like the NBA Top Shot, so they kind of had already, were having like they had like more videos and cards and stuff. So I had a little like that's the only information I knew about it. And then when my friend pitched the idea, I was like, oh, I'd love to learn more, and that was kind of that's how I really started it. And a few months into it now, YouTubing and learning more about everything, and it's still like, people, it's tough, like what is an NFT, like trying to explain to people the metaverse. But I think at the same time, like it's exciting to be living around these times, to have the opportunity to be involved in some sort of capacity. So yeah.
What's your projection for for Ruggers NFT? Do you think it's going to grow? Like there is a lot of difference of opinion.
So I think, yeah, exactly. Like I think like a lot of different projects, hype is a big thing in creating communities around that. But yeah, I think for me it was like, we know that the game is always going to be there. So it's a matter of trying to, merge the two.
Yeah.
And that's probably what we found is different, because, you got your class, like your rugby fans that follow the sport, but, even in general, the public, like you speak about metaverse and NFTs, it was such a new space, and it's still new, and still people are figuring it out. So yes, we find like in terms of rugby fans, like they're still finding that connection, between the Ruggers NFT and, the game in itself. Whereas, if you got like people that are really well involved in different projects, NFTs is a different story, not explaining what it is all about before then making a decision to jump on board. But it's been running like steadily. I wouldn't say it has been too quiet or hasn't popped off to the moon or something like that. But no, it's been going steadily, and I think we could continue trying to push it and grow it. I don't think I haven't seen any other rugby NFTs in terms of collector's cards yet. There may be some now, but it is quite a very new space, and so you're still kind of pioneering and figuring it out at the same time, and building it too. So yeah,
it's like you say, it is a new space, but you also having my little understanding of business, it's being those first adopters, those early ones into the business, and navigating that space are usually the ones that kind of, you'll learn, probably not that way, I'll come back, because you don't have that much competition at the start, but then once you start doing well, that's when everyone will jump in. So it's just making use of that, like you say, being first into the
for sure. Like we do know, like at the moment there's not many, if any, around, but like if it does go off, there is going to be a lot of competition or other projects as well. So but it's cool, like being able to learn as we go and figure things out at the same time. So
well, I'm sure everyone's watching you to see how it goes. Typical. Again, as you've done, I think, but it's also kind of going back on to what you've done in your career. Being the first ones to jump into it, and then you've made a good fist of the let's say the physical realm. You're getting into that virtual realm and doing the same thing. So you think. I'm sure you're taking some of those learnings from that time, and I suppose that probably, but like I always talk about what transferable skills that you've learned from footy are now that you're using in your business life.
I think like rugby's always been a team sport. So, you know, you're used to working with other people. You're used to, I guess, understanding, you know, what you're good at, what your teammates good at, and trying to put that together and go be the best out, you know, on the field or performing. So I think in terms of that, like understanding that, you know, other people have strengths that, you know, will help you, taking that into the business realm, you know, surrounding myself with a good team, people that, you know, are experts in different fields, and letting them do that, because, you know, I know that's just not my field. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I think that's one. And then I'd say maybe another is just, I think of, you know, rugby as an elite sport, as a high performance, that pressure that, you know, as players, you need to perform. Like your currency is your performance out there on the field, being able to execute a job, a skill at a crucial time with, I don't know, 30, 40, 70,000 people watching you, cheering you on, or booing you. I think that kind of environment, you know, there's certain skills of dealing with pressure I think you can take as well, and being able to perform. So.
Oh, no, that's also, I like that currency. Our currency is our skill. Nice. I've got a couple of more questions. Also, I did notice, you know, a couple of teams you've been to, there's a big Pacific Island community within those teams, both with Wasps and now with Bristol. How is everyone going? I just have to ask, how's Dolph?
Yeah, no, obviously it's been maybe tactical, like, you know, going to these teams, but it's been awesome, like, you know, being part of teams away from New Zealand, but always having Pacific brothers involved. That always helps, you know, being away from home, and, you know, that's your family while we're here, and being away from our own families. But all the boys are well, like, you know, Dolph's, you know, captain of our club, always leading from the front, doing what he does. Both getting older now, so I'm trying to stay on top of our bodies and injuries. You know, Pat, obviously, you know, coaching us, director of rugby here, has always been a good example for us. And, you know, the likes of John Afoa, old head there, always, still mixing in and with the young boys, and showing, you know, just trucking on. But they're doing well. Chris Boy and a few of the other boys. It's nice to, you know, have a few island boys, but at the same time, you know, be abroad and trying to push this club forward and help the club in the city here.
Nice. What advice would you give, you know, the listeners or the young people coming through now from, you know, in terms of your path that you've blazed, really?
I think for me would be just to make the best decision for yourself. Like, when it comes down to making some of the tough decisions, I think there's always a lot of voices that's going to be around, and a lot of opinions. But at the end of the day, it's trying to find, you know, your own voice, your heart, what you want to do. You know, take that information on board to help, but not let that be dictate your decision. And once you make that decision, you know, don't look back, and just look forward and push on.
Awesome. And final question, just around your health and well-being. You know, how do you look after yourself? Obviously, you know, you've got trainers there for your health and whatnot, but like, as you said, you know, sometimes the pressures, you know, you've got a family, you've got footy, and then, you know, obviously you've got a business well. So looking after your mental well-being is important too. So what are your tips, or, you know, what do you do to keep on top of it all?
I think for me is obviously like having key people that you can always speak to, whether it be family, friends, I don't know, a teacher, just someone that's close to you, they feel they can always open up to and share, whether it's, you know, something positive, or, you know, something tough that, you know, that's kind of eating away at you, or that you need to get off your shoulders and help you. I think obviously the physical side, the nutrition, it's always been a tough one for me. I think growing up as a Pacific Islander, you know, KFC has always been you know, the number one treat, and trying to stay away from those takeaways. But no, I think like you said, there's nutritionists and the team that help you, and Skinfolds keeps you in in place. That comes up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that's the hardest one too. Like it's those habits, as we've seen, you know, just recently in terms of you know, losing so many of our generation is around just making sure also, not just because, you know, in that environment you're in now, it's all like you say, you've got to hit those targets both on the on the fitness or nutrition with and it's just creating those habits when you finish 2 hours, because that's probably where we still eat the same but don't have the same output.
Exactly. I think that's probably one of the learnings I've taken like quite recently was, you know, those habits. Like I think a lot of times I try and make those changes, or like just for that temporary like skin fold or that temporary like, whereas I think I find like it's got to be like deeper than that goal, or you know, it's come within. Like you see something like talking about, you know, that change coming from within in terms of your identity and working back from there, then that habit becomes, you know, more like long lasting. And like you say, it becomes like a health choice rather, and living healthy rather than I need to make a healthy decision here to make to have a good skin fold, or
get under your 40 to get under your 40.
I think I've stacked well above that.
Oh, so Leo, hey, I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome to chat. Now, appreciate that, Charles, and wish you all the best for the rest of the season, and obviously with what's upcoming with Tonga, and you know, hopefully that goes well. They've got a game. You've still got Tonga still got one more game to qualify.
Yes, I believe so. I'm not sure when, but yeah, there's still the qualification process. So big game coming up.
Yeah, so we might see you sooner rather than later in the red of Tonga.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for having me, man. Been a while since that Mangere Bridge catch up. So it was great to catch up.
Oh, it's awesome, man. Like I said, you know, thanks for giving up your time. Appreciate it.
All good. Much love.
Much love. Hey,